I'm saying, William, is I haven't had milkshake in a while. That sounds great. Yeah, sure, horse keep the shake and beat this milk. No pork shakes. Trust me, I am not gonna have pork eventually.
Your hair by Old Spice. The finest, one-of-a-kind, best and only accessory you'll ever need grows on your head. Old Spice has their products.
It was slow by my standards, as far as like playing and talking and stuff. But thank you.
No, CRJ, it can be in my house. It can be anything you want. It's up to you. You be you. It has been an interesting week, and I have to say that this delivery thing has been more taxing than I could have imagined. Yeah, it's just well, Buff. If you watch my video, it's an armpit or a cram pit or a dam pit. There's a lot of options. Maybe I'll play the clip here in a little bit. But like I said, for those of you who know that I'm wait, what? Van 52, 53, 54, 50, 51, 50. No, 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 no. It's not supposed to go down. No, wait. Following 49. Oh, Vanimal, you scared the hell out of me. I I've been having some issues here, I've got to talk for a minute because I cannot talk and chat window at the same time. I'll lose my train of thought. There's a reason why us old people write shit down. In fact, I was taking notes while I was watching somebody else stream. Also, before I forget, Maddie, thank you. I appreciate it. And I am so sorry that I promoted in your channel. It was supposed to be a whisper, and I fat fingered my fucking mouse, and it went into chat. And thank you, CRJ, for deleting. I don't care if you deleted it all or just the one. I do appreciate that. I know, and I didn't figure that you would mind because I stream, and that's fine. But I just fuck. I was pissed. I've got to close that window. I can't have those two open. So I know, Maddie, and I appreciate it so much, but it just most people who stream or do social media don't like people self-promoting in their house, and I totally get that. And I don't mind either, but it's always nice to ask first. And even though a lot of people know that I do stream, that was, I mean, obviously an accident, but just the same. Yeah, yeah. Can you delete that? That was supposed to be a whisper. That was supposed to be a pisper. That was supposed to be a Jesus Christ, fat fingers. So this week I started delivering food in my 1995 Superior Cadillac Fleetwood Hearse. Um, Short version is job market is kind of wonky where I'm at right now, and I decided that I needed to spend some time doing something because I was going crazy, just sitting at the house. And I still have stuff to do to the house, thanks to those of you who watch me painting or plastering, any of that crap. But I needed to get out of the house. I wanted to make some dollars. In 4 days, with Uber Eats, I had 3 deliveries. I made a grand total of 12 US dollars and probably spend a grand total in 10 US gallons. So today, I went back to DoorDash and I'd started to use it, but they're complicated. You have to schedule. You can only work when you schedule. You can only schedule 2 weeks ahead. And if you don't get in at the beginning of the week when the schedules become available, all these assholes take all the schedules, whether they want them or not, and schedule themselves. And so then all you can hope for then is peak time delivery. Assholes. I hate assholes and I hate bullies, which is a little self-deprecating because I'm an asshole too. But I've said this before and I'll say it again. I know I'm an asshole. It's the people who are assholes and don't know it that are the real assholes. So while we've got some folks in here, because I understand that my schnick, you know, I'm going to try German one of these days because I am failing English. Spoken and typed and written. I can barely read my notes. Wie geht es Deutsch, eh? Like I said, it's been a long week. It's been a long day. I might be a little more tired than I'd planned when I started my stream because somebody started late and ran late, and I had to watch because they didn't stream Wednesday. I'm absolutely not sincere about that. We all love Maddie. Maddie's amazing. We're very happy for Maddie and all of Maddie's success going forward. We know she's doing a wonderful job. Today, though, I had a delivery I've got to tell you about. And it's in the title of the stream, and it's pretty accurate. I guarantee you that somebody in a small town area of Kansas thinks that somebody died because I delivered food. I started my DoorDash app and I got a DoorDash for a fair price. And I thought it was straight north through town. Easy route, easy dollars. They wanted Popeyes. And I don't blame them because Popeyes is amazing. Unless it's the Popeyes in my town, because the Popeyes in my town runs out of chicken. It runs out of red beans and rice. It runs out of mashed potatoes. It runs out of okra. And did I mention it runs out of chicken? When I got there to pick up this order, the woman running the place locked the door behind me because nobody had showed up for the afternoon shift. They were all late for their schedules. I waited almost 45 minutes, and my estimated delivery time was 45 minutes. I waited for the food. I got the food. I checked the order. They were short on something. It took 20 more minutes to make a fucking fish sandwich. I can go downstairs right now with my phone, with Twitch, and I can make a fish sandwich in 10 minutes, and I don't even have any fish thought out right now. It's not hard. So meanwhile, I'm texting DoorDash. They don't have any employees. The lines are long. Message back from DoorDash. Be sure to send a comment to your customer to let them know you're delayed. Oh, comment to customer. Sorry about the delay. Their heads are up their asses. No, that's not what I said. That was the essence of the message. Got the meal, went out the door, got in the car, hit the map, looked at the map and went. I went like this. I literally went like this with my phone. Why does the map not orient with the compass? When I hold my phone up, this is north. I mean, literally. Here, let me open this up here for you. And maybe I'm just weird with my mapping. I don't want to watch myself. I open up a map, and this is going to be really small so I don't dox myself. But I open up my map, and this way is north until I ask for directions. And I look at it, and it doesn't go up through town to downtown. It's like 8 miles south, down the highway in another town. But it says it's a $20 delivery. I've already accepted it. I've already waited 45 minutes for this fucking order. I'm good, Van. My map doesn't show my home, and the lettering's really small. It was just Kansas City. Now, a lot of map programs, when you tell it, tell me how to get there, and the nice little voice comes up, which, by the way, I got to tell you about that. When the nice little voice comes up and starts giving you directions, then the map moves around. But when I look at a map that shows my initial directions, north is up. Don't fuck with my map. I'm not in Australia. Up. This is... I'm not going to lie with you. I'm angry tonight. Not even angry at anything. It's just it's an angry moment. It's a very Pastor Van day. Get in the car, get on the highway. Beautiful drive. Great scenery, especially if you like farms and cows and camels or dromedaries or llamas or whatever the fuck was out there. They weren't sheep. I'm Welsh, I'm Irish, I'm Scottish. I know what sheep look like. If you don't believe me, ask Juicy. And I turn off the highway down this rural road, turn down another rural road, get to this little town area. Everything's right along the 2-lane highway. Past the church, there's a house. I pull in the driveway. I look like this. Make no mistakes about it. I'm me. And to me, this is dressed up. Black is my armor. This is my war paint. If they don't like it, tough titties. And I'll talk about the hearse here in a little bit if you, because I know Vanimal and Buff both like my car. But I'm trying to drag this story out because right now, some people don't watch their count. I do because I think it's awesome. By the way, thanks again, Maddie. Most people ever in my stream ever. You win an award. I've got to send you something. I've got to do something for you. No, it doesn't. And I'd like to put spark plugs and gas in the tailpipe, but right now my exhaust is about half falling off anyway, so it's incredible. Get to her house, go up to the door. She is getting there right as I knock. Tell her again, I'm sorry about your order. I said, I love Popeye's chicken myself, but the Popeye's there in, I almost doxed myself. The Popeye's there in town, they can't get their shit together. They're always out of stuff, and they're always, I mean, what kind of chicken restaurant runs out of chicken at 6 o'clock at night? That is their chicken. Popeye's chicken. Popeye's chicken. It'd be like going to McDonald's and they've run out of Big Macs and Happy Meals. Fuck. So, twice it's happened to us. Oh, well, you should come back when it's not, it's 6 o'clock at night. Dinner's not over. I like my Popeyes. At this point, I'm really frustrated. I've waited this long. I've made her wait that long. She just stops in the doorway and stares at me for a minute. And I'm like, what? I'm like, oh yeah, me, HEARSE. Okay, I should have expected that. Not my first food delivery. It's my first Uber Eats. And I told her I appreciated her be patient with me. It was my first delivery for, not Uber Eats, for DoorDash. And she goes, no problem. Thanks. And I get in the car. Get in my car. Now, this is a driveway in a house along a 2-lane highway lined with houses, small town. Get in the car, put my phone up, start the car, seatbelt, check mirrors, back up to the back of the driveway, traffic, both directions. Two directions of traffic. Stopped. So my hearse delivering food. I can't give it straight. So my hearse delivering food can back out of somebody's driveway and take off. God knows what anybody thought. And the best part, and I thought about this as I called my partner out because she'd texted me while I was driving about dinner. And I called her back. And as I'm calling her, I'm thinking, oh, that poor woman, she's going to be getting calls for 2 weeks wanting to know who fucking died. I couldn't hold it together. And then I was laughing and I had to call her back. So I turned into the church next door and started. So now they're thinking, oh, well, at least that was a short drive right from the house to the church. Convenient. Oh, I had to wipe the tears away before I called her so that I could carry on a conversation with her. I have to. That was the highlight of my week. That was the highlight as far as going out and doing stuff. That was the highlight of my week. Well, okay, so I'm gonna have to back up eventually and look at the chat. But I'll tell you, I've had people pull over on the road, go in either direction, uncertain as to whether I was a professional vehicle in service. I had a sheriff's deputy pull off on the side of one of our local 4-lane neighborhood roads. He pulled over, flashed his lights, and motioned me to go on. And I'm like, there's nobody behind me. I get more attention with this car than I did with the black PT Cruiser with the casket trailer. But so far, nobody's been staring at the hearse so hard that they ran over a median, which did happen to me in the PT Cruiser. What was said? I lost my train of thought because I think. Oh, Amethyst. So Amethyst said, "Oh my God," to the church. Okay, so I have this uncanny knack when I'm driving in an unfamiliar neighborhood of finding cemeteries. The car is drawn to dead people or graves or cemeteries, something. No. This isn't worse. This is just weird. This is just weird. But Vanimal, I don't have cop suspension. I have truck suspension, which is still all right on a Cadillac. The car is drawn to cemeteries everywhere I go. And on a few occasions when I've known there were cemeteries somewhere, I've gone for lunch. I've taken my lunch there and eaten. I know, Angel. It's like nobody gives a shit about the police. Nobody gives a shit about somebody's dying in the back of an ambulance. Nobody cares if somebody's house is on fire. But a hearse pulls through, and you know what? You can tell whose mama or grandmama whipped their ass and told them to be respectful when they were kids, because those are the people that see a hearse and they don't care what's going on. They just pull over. How am I doing so far? I work well with an audience generally. So, The one thing that has been consistent every time I've found a cemetery is this. And it happened very recently because I accidentally found a national cemetery in our town, a big, huge, every tombstone, every marker is the same national cemetery. And it's huge. And it dates back to the early 1800s when the army base here was a fort. So I had to turn around somewhere. I'm looking for a park. I'm looking for someplace to camp out for a few minutes. And I find this national cemetery. I'm like, holy crap, this place is big. Well, I'll eat my lunch here. So I pull in and I drive and I drive and I drive and I drive. And this cemetery just goes on forever. And it's beautiful. And it reminded me of the National Cemetery where my departed grandfather is buried. I got a little teary eyed. I'm not going to do that now. I'm not going to puss out on stream. I'll laugh my ass off till I piss, but no crying. Unacceptable in the pulpit. Casual stream for crying. Pulled over, got my lunch out, started eating. And this is what happens in every cemetery I go to. And it makes sense. It really, really makes sense, but it's still funny. I'm halfway through my Wendy's, I think I had. I had a Wendy's burger. I got half my burger done, half my fries. I'm taking a drink. SUV pulls up next to me. Really nice young man wearing a suit. He goes, "Hi, how you doing?" I said, "Good, thanks." And he goes, "Just checking to make sure everything's all right." And I said, "Yeah, and probably making sure that you haven't missed something that was scheduled." And he goes, like a nervous laughter. Yeah, that too. Because every time I've gone to a cemetery in a hearse, they think somebody's being dropped off and they forgot about it. And so they've got guys in a machine shed with a backhoe and a skid steer and shovels going, "We didn't dig a hole." And you got somebody else over here going, "Where's the lift?" And somebody else over here is going, "Hey guys, did you forget about something?" But it's every time, every time. And so he laughs very nervously. And he goes, "Yeah, check it on that too." And I talked to him a little bit. I said, "Well," I said, "I wondered if this was tied to the National Cemetery out there because that's where my grandfather's at." I said, I know I kind of raise some alarms when I pull in, but I said, I've had a couple of places that I've been where they've noticed that it is not a recent car and they figure it's not important or it's a second call or, you know, and you're right, Buff, to some degree. Maybe the groundskeepers you might like get Willie from The Simpsons, something like that. But for the most part, in a big town like this, you go to a cemetery and it's not like a small, more private cemetery, and they're pretty well run, pretty well kept. CRJ, there was a show several years back, and it had Jesse James, not the cowboy, not the bank robber. I can't think of the name of the show. It was like a contest show where they had a bunch of guys in and they had to take a car and do something funky with it. Like they had a NASCAR car and they had to make it into a street sweeper. And so they put the brushes on it and the vacuum on it and ran it down an Indianapolis type strip and swept the ground with it. And they had an episode where they had I'm going to get this wrong, I'm sure, but I think it was a 1969 Cadillac hearse. And they called it Gravedigger. They souped up the engine. They painted it. Yeah, it was something on Discovery. Painted it. They cut part of the roof out and they mounted a great big hydraulic backhoe arm on the back of the hearse. Still had room for a casket. And because I have myself tied into a few of the different big professional car groups in the United States, it comes up every now and then. And rumor has it that they, even with the heft on the frame of this car, that the hydraulic system and the backhoe was just too much. It tore up the frame, it tore up the car. Somebody ended up buying it, and then it ended up in a junkyard, and somebody ended up buying it. And as last I heard, it was something like it was rusting to death in somebody's field full of rusty cars. But yeah, so I mean, and it's hard to believe that you can drive a 21 foot long, that's about 6.5, 7 meters for you guys, UK guys. Monster garage, imminent flight risk. Thank you so much. And I'm pretty sure it was Jesse James, one of the guys that does car builds on Discovery or one of the channels. But yeah, Monster Garage. They did a lot of really sketchy shit, but pretty cool. I mean, not gonna lie, the idea of a backhoe sticking out the back of a hearse is a great idea. More practical, put a trailer hitch on it, get a trailer with a bobcat. Okay, my car weighs 6,000 pounds and can tow 5,000, and probably do over 100 miles an hour at the same time if I replace every bushing in the suspension right now. And you know what? I'd do it. Not gonna lie. There's a meme that runs around amongst the hearse guys, and it's a picture of a hearse about the same year as mine with a wood chipper being pulled behind it. A hearse with a wood chipper. Did you hear that? I didn't stutter. I want to make sure you got that clear. No wood chipper, no could getter, a wood chipper, a machine that you take tree branches in and it shreds them behind a hearse. Fucking awesome. Absolutely amazing. There's another meme that comes up, and I'll have to find these and show them sometime. There's another meme of a hearse with a little U-Haul trailer behind it. And everybody's comment always is, well, I guess you can take it with you. No, Krister, I absolutely agree, because I've seen trucks with equipment mounted on them like that, and they've got to be at least like Ford equivalent F250, F350. What's Chevy like Chevy's like a C20 or C30? I don't know. They changed. I don't think it's C10, C20 anymore. They've changed their denomination, designation. 3500, yeah, 2500, 3500, or is that Dodge? I can't remember. Not super important. So while I take a moment to etch a sketch my brain, I am here. If you have questions, thoughts, queries, inquiries, outqueries, now's a great time for it, because I'm gonna take an etch a sketch moment, shake my brain around and clear it, because this whole day has just been what the fuck up until I saw 2 lanes of traffic on a highway come to a screeching halt to let me back out from a DoorDash food delivery. I wish I could make this up. I really do. But everybody knows shit like that happens. And it's not even that big of a deal. It's just that you wouldn't think that you could forget that you're behind the steering wheel. Did I say this already? Of a 21 foot long black Cadillac with a raised roof, chrome all down the sides. But you get into your headspace, you're doing something, you've got a goal. The only other color for me, CRJ, would be purple, or black with purple, or something along those lines. Shit. Just, yeah. Purple Flames. I'd hate to do it now because I'd feel like I was copying it, but years ago, going through my town, I saw an 80s era Cadillac hearse go through that was black with silver and gray, the equivalent of flames coming off the front, except for it wasn't flames. It gradually morphed from silver to gray to black as bat shapes. Oh, if I could do that with crows, ravens, maybe in purple, CRJ, if I could afford to change its color, I wouldn't be doing DoorDash. Vanimal, I don't know. I don't know how long I will continue doing it. Right now, it's it's an experiment, and I haven't gotten enough consistent results to say what I think and how it's doing. Today was a positive because I'm starting to think that one company doesn't service as much in my area as the other one. But the DoorDash, like I said, has this scheduling thing. It's just ridiculous. It's so hard to figure it out. Yeah, Krister, if you play GTA 5, GTA Online anyway, there are currently 3 cars that you can get. One is Romero's Hearse. One is I can't remember what it's called in the game, but it's Dragula. It's the Cadillac Hearse that they used in the Rob Zombie video. And then they recently, I think just this Halloween, added something that kind of looks like a 1950s, 1960s Packard hearse that you can put livery on that looks like a hearse. Vanimal, I don't know. Actually, before paint, the car is going to need vinyl. But I know that generally in this general area of the country, for a wrap, you're looking at $3,000. And for that price, maybe a little bit more. If I do a little bit of the work and masking and whatnot, I could probably get it repainted for that. But I like black. I really like the black. And frankly, I've driven around so long with the bloody handprints in the rear window and the dripping blood on the side windows and the bat stickers on the windshield and the fuzzy dice hanging on the mirror, all that crap. It shouldn't be too hard to figure out. But to their credit, maybe people were paying the respects to the vehicle just in case. So, let's see. Krister, honestly, as far as the good orders for a few weeks to give them hope and then start screwing them, I think at this point that the food delivery companies, if they're established in an area, they're probably giving new people crap deliveries just to fill the gaps until they've established themselves as reliable, willing to drive, willing to go this, be on time, not kill people in a car wreck kind of thing. And Buff, yeah, the car is big, but you've got to remember a third of the car is vinyl. So it's still a Cadillac Fleetwood. They're long anyway, but the vast chunk of it on the top is vinyl. So you think like washing the car, bucket washing the car, which I don't mind doing. I didn't do it today because I was in a hurry, but bucket washing the car, it's half an hour to scrub the vinyl if I don't treat it. And then the rest of the car doesn't take any longer than any other car I've owned or her dad's truck or any of that stuff. Archangel, yes, I am streaming. I've told you this several times, but since your schedule's upside down, you've obviously missed it. But I'm going to tell everyone you missed out. For those of you who are of the femboy-ish communities, night before last, I wore a fit, and I looked damn good. I looked really damn good. Not gonna lie. And to tell you the truth, some of you may know Robin, this person named Robin, Juicy something, has like 2.5 people on, I think they said they had like 2.5 people on TikTok that followed him, stopped by my stream. And since they stuck around to the end, I sent, yeah, like 2.5, 3 people follow him. I don't know. Semi sort of social media influencer. I sent Juicy a couple pictures. I'm not going to lie. I was happy with the response. I don't know, Krister, but I know that there are people out there with half a brain, so I'm sure just to make up for it on the scale of karma, there are probably half of people out there with a whole brain or something like that. I swear, it makes sense in my head. You did miss the start, Archangel. I tell you what, I don't think I'm going to be on super long tonight because I had to wait for somebody to finish streaming. I'm going to see if they're still in here. I don't think they are. I think they were tired. No, they're still here. Okay, so I can keep giving them shit because it's fun and because they like it, because they like degradation. You know who you are. Actually, I'd like to thank Maddie because Maddie has come to a couple of my streams before. Maddie is not new to my stream. Vanimal, Buff, there's several people here that I know that have been here before, and there are several people that are here now that I know that haven't been here before, and that's perfectly fine. I wonder, CRJ, out of your curiosity, can Maddie do all three of those things at the same time? Hello, Robbie, and welcome to the stream. Boy, I sound like an old pro already. And you know, I was going to have a grouchy stream. I was going to call people names. I was going to be degrading. I was going to tell people what idiots they were. But you know what? Having Maddie drag 40-some people into my stream all at once, I just don't feel like I can be a proper asshole. That's not fair to me. Sometimes I like being an asshole. It's about 50% of my Pastor Van persona shtick. And I said it right this time. So, all at once. So for folks who have not been here before or haven't been in much, again, I'm Pastor Van. This is my pulpit. I am a secular pastor. I am ordained. I can minister. I can wed. I am legal in almost every state in the United States and carrying my ordination in several other countries. But as I said, I am a secular priest. And you may ask how that works. And I'm not going to tell you because really, if you don't know how that works, you're going to have to figure it out on your own because it's a brainful. Because it sounds not right, but you ponder it a little bit and you get it. It's less about the religious part as the religious belief part. Because at least here in the United States, unless you live in Texas or maybe Florida, not having a religion, not following a deity is a religion. So that being said, the point of a minister, priest, a pastor, a rabbi, any minister to any faith, including those of non-faith, the point of a minister is to minister to the people. And that generally means, well, giving bad advice. And you know what? I'm great at bad advice. I give bad advice all the time. The only qualification that I don't have is maybe altar boys. Because, you know, just not my thing. Well, Robbie, you're right and you're wrong. And that's the twist to it. Because atheism is a belief, but it's a belief because it's a non-belief. So I'll tell you another little story. I worked Brace yourselves. Some of you who've talked to me may believe this. Some of you have not, are going to look at me and you're going to be calling somebody and letting them know about me. I worked in special education for several years because where we lived, the biggest employers were the city, the county, the school district, the farmers cooperative, and the electric company. And electric company, terrible. City, terrible. County, terrible. Co-op, really terrible. But I ended up getting a job as a paraprofessional with our school district, and I hadn't brought my war paint and my armor out of the closet for a few years, so to speak. So this wasn't me when I started doing that. At one point in time, I had to put my armor away. I had to put my war paint away because I felt like I was having a hard time with jobs and people. It was getting complicated. But one of the nice things about working with as a para, especially for somebody who doesn't have kids, doesn't want to have kids, and may not have been entirely honest when they told somebody that they really enjoyed working with kids. It was a good gig, and I got to work with a lot of kids who had a lot of issues, and sometimes it was fun and sometimes it was terrible because sometimes you could spend weeks with a kiddo who struggled in some way and really see some progress, and then realize on a Friday as school was ending that they were going home to whatever situation they happened to have at that house, and that everything that they'd accomplished that week or in those 2 weeks was going to be erased and you were going to start over. So that's the background. For the good story, the good story is the teacher that I worked with was fantastic. And she went on to a different position with the educational co-op as a gifted program teacher. And one of the paras that we'd had for a year, who had been a para previous to moving to that town, took the position pending her finishing a little bit more schooling. And it was great because I'd worked with her. She's fantastic. If by any chance this ever gets to her, loved working with you, miss working with you. I hope the kids are good. I hope your kids are good. Hope family's good. Her husband was a minister for a local church. That's why they had moved there. And she had heard me talk about being ordained previously, and she asked me about it one day, and I gave her the whole spiel. This is what I believe. This is what I follow. This is where I'm ordained. And she really got upset. She's like, my husband had to go to seminary. Doesn't that sound dirty? Seminary. Had to go to a seminary with a bunch of other priests. And he had to study and he had to educate. He had to learn about the Bible. Do this. And it's not fair that you can just go out and get ordained if you haven't been educated on it. And I tried to very politely, because we got along wonderfully. I had to try to explain to her, if you don't follow the belief in a higher power, you don't have anything that you have to learn except to not be an asshole. Because that's not a rule in the Bible or the Quran or you know what? My brain just failed me again, and I can't think of anything other than. But there's no scripture out there that doesn't somewhere in it basically tell people in this world, don't be an asshole, don't steal their shit, don't stab them, don't kill them, don't f their wife, at least without permission. If your brother dies, you get his wife. They should add with their permission. And, people overlook some things sometimes, like, if your kid is bad, take them to the village elders and they will be stoned to death. But yeah, don't be an asshole. That's the general thing. And so it wasn't, she was very upset. She wasn't angry with me. She wasn't upset with me. She was just upset at the idea that her husband worked really hard to get the position in their church that he had after his father had been a minister for years and years and years. And she went home apparently and talked to him about that. And him and I didn't get along super great. We weren't BFFs, but we got along really well. We were human to each other. We talked on many occasions. We both liked cars. He had a really old powder blue and white Ford F-150 pickup truck that he was working on that belonged to his dad. And he explained to her, what most ministers would explain at that time is he doesn't believe the same thing that we do. We'd like to see him believe the same thing that we do, but we're not going to accomplish that goal by harassing and haranguing and bothering them. He said, basically told her, but he's a good guy. I mean, he didn't know I was an asshole. Maybe he did. He said basically he's a good guy and he's got the right idea. Look how he does with the kids. He said, I wouldn't care if he was watching our kids, watching the kids at the school, watching other people's kids. He's a good person. He treats people respectfully. I don't know where he got that. You know what I'm saying? It's just, what the fuck? She still wasn't happy, but because he took that moment to minister to her and explain to her that I just had a different point of view and that my point of view didn't require 2,000 years of text to back up. I mean, don't be an asshole. I mean, I'd shared that basic thought with him before. I mean, that's the premise of most belief systems, is don't be an asshole. Roughly. He didn't care. He was just glad that I was a decent person. They probably prayed for me. Ugh. I don't get that. I didn't ask to be prayed for. I did not give, don't pray for me. I do not give consent for you to address anything or anyone about my well-being. Yuck. Okay? It's I get that some people don't get this viewpoint, but this is what I think. I think, okay, Keanu Reeves was in an interview and he was asked, Stephen Colbert asked him, what do you think happens when you die? And it got really quiet. Keanu Reeves said, I think when you die, people who love you miss you very much. Hey, you know what? That is a fucking amazing answer. Keanu Reeves, he's one of those celebrities that you see his shit, and if he's got bodies buried in the basement and they find him someday, they're going to go, oh, that sucks. Gosh, they must have really hurt Keanu for him to kill somebody and bury him in the basement. We're going to let it go. Because there's nothing you can watch of Keanu Reeves in an interview or out on the street, articles. They killed his dog. Chris, they killed his dog. If there is a heaven, okay, if there's a heaven, Keanu Reeves is on his way. Unless he's got those bodies in the basement, he's there. And Stephen Colbert is a very, very devout Catholic. He is very liberal, but he is, and he talks about his religion. He has no qualms with it. But my belief is, some of you have probably heard the phrase, we are stardust. Well, I believe we'll be stardust again. I think by some miracle of chance, we exist here. We should enjoy it as much as we can, not be assholes. When I'm gone, I'm gone. There's nothing left. My energy goes away, my matter goes away, people miss me, maybe, and that's it. And here's my addendum to that. If I am wrong and there is a higher power, I have to believe that any higher power that exists has a sense of humor. And if you don't believe me, look at the world. Because a higher power either has a sense of humor or is fucking sick. And I'm hoping it's a sense of humor. And if I die and I'm wrong, I'm going to get to the pearly gates or the walls of Valhalla or the 8-armed Vishnu of Karambutu or whatever. And they're going to look at me and go, you know what? It's all right. You're in. Come on. Because and if they don't have a sense of humor, I'm fucked. That's it. And I don't have a problem with anybody else's beliefs. But to me, it's like it's just the same argument as I don't like Brussels sprouts. And if you like Brussels sprouts, you will never convince me that Brussels sprouts are good. Because A, religious beliefs are like that, and B, I'm fucking old and I'm already telling people to get the fuck off my lawn. Stardust, the film, okay, like usual, the film, this is totally off. The film, not as good as the book, but I loved the film. The film was really well done. It was really touching. They used enough of the book to complete the story that somebody watching the film that had never read the book knows what happened. I mean, that's sufficient. It's one of those genres where if you nitpick, you're just gonna fucking run it. All right, so I'm gonna scroll back through here because I've been seeing a lot of chit chat, and I don't want to be ignoring anybody. Sussy photos with Maddie. Let's see, CRJ always has something amazing to say. There's icons. The UK has established Church of England. Anyone can be anything they want to be outside the official church. Sure. Prime Minister. That's fantastic. Yeah, see, and CRJ with the atheism and the agnosticism, the church that I'm ordained through is an agnostic church, and I'm gonna have to get it here because it's cover up my name. A, I don't care for my name, and I don't want to. It's kind of doxy. See if it comes up. Anyway, that's my certificate there, and it says Universal Church Triumphant of the Apathetic Agnostic. Motto: Nisiamus non attingamus, which is Latin for I don't know and I don't care. In recognition of the acceptance of the Articles of Faith and an intention to communicate the teachings of apathetic agnosticism, to others, the Most Reverend John Tyrrell, Patriarch of the Church, hereby ordains the Reverend blah, 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 a pastor, and I got to pick my title, and I picked pastor because at the time I was renovating the old Presbyterian church. In the clergy of the Universal Church Triumphant of the Apathetic Agnostic, with the authority to officiate at agnostic and secular ceremonies to celebrate life's passages. December 18th, 2014. British Columbia, Canada. So, there's a lot of debate as to what exactly agnosticism and atheism is, but to me, agnosticism is basically that I don't know, you can't prove or disprove the existence of a higher power. Atheism is typically a stated belief that there is no higher power. Unknowing, yes. Apathetic. Can you not appreciate the play on words? apathetic agnosticism, don't know and don't care. Their motto is literally, I don't know and I don't care. Damn it, CRJ. I appreciate you so fucking much, but you can really ruin a punchline. See what I get. That reminds me, are Amethyst and Chris here? Because I owe them a chat ban. Maybe next time. So. and I want to talk to Amethyst about just, like, I can't stand it when somebody just hangs up the phone. They don't say goodbye. They don't see you later. Catch you next time. Whatever. My father-in-law just hangs up the phone. Drives me nuts. 3 times yesterday. Streams that I watched. It's just like, blah, 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 blah. Good night. Click. The stream go. Yes, CRJ, on the dangerous levels of credibility and minor denominations don't vet or qualify people. No, I totally get that, because the requirements for my ordination were minimal. I'm going to say minimal at worst. But there certainly was no background check, no criminal record, no, is he on the sexual offenders list? It was literally done on the internet. Who's practicing for a movie role? Wait, what? Yes, CRJ. I'm not going to go back and reread everything, but can never be shown one way or the other. Yes. But to me, trying to tell people what atheism or agnosticism, either one, is or isn't, is kind of like the whole femboy debate. What is or isn't a femboy? Which is something that there's been conversations about in Discord chat, Reddit, on streams, in stream chats, and it's kind of been accepted as if that's how you want to identify, and it's the same general idea, nobody gives a shit. So a lot of people use atheist and agnostic kind of interchangeably. And the nice thing about most of the people that I've ever known who are agnostic or atheist is if you call them one or the other and it's not right, they're not even going to correct you. The important thing to them is that you understand that they don't have a faith. They don't go to a church. They don't believe that they require some higher power to dictate to them how to not be an asshole, when society has already established that. Porcelain, you're kind of right. And you know what? The worst criminal in movies and TV, cop shows. Cop shows are the worst. Blah, 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 blah. Click. They never say goodbye. No, Custer, it's well, in a way, it is. An agnostic is kind of a wishy-washy atheist, but I've heard people who are of a faith say that agnosticism is undecided because you can't argue that there is or isn't a God. So, oh, well, that means your mind's still open to the possibility. No, it doesn't mean my mind's open to the possibility, because unless God walks up to me, or Jesus or Vishnu or Buddha's not a God, a deity walks up to me, can show me evidence of his godliness and proper identification, it's a non-issue for me. And like I said, if I personally am wrong, if I die and I find myself someplace, I just gotta hope that I was a decent enough person in my life that I met the criteria. And I don't think believing in a God should be a criteria for meeting them. if going to a heaven to see the face of your God is your reward in the end, I kind of think that if you don't believe in a God and you lead a good life anyway, you're almost kind of done a better job than somebody who does have a faith and spends their life being a good person, because it almost sounds like maybe they're only a good person because of their faith. And please don't let that offend anybody who has faith, any faith. I'm not saying that you're a bad person because you're only good because I'm just saying that for some people that may be the case. In a way, oh my God, CRJ, you're going to love this. In a way, religion is almost a form of sociopathy. Oh my God, I love that. I've got to get that on a t-shirt. Religion is sociopathy. I'm only a good person because I'm afraid of the punishment when I die. No, but yeah, and that's what basically sociopathy is a person who gets away with anything they can within the rules and bounds of their society. Jesus. I'm not even drinking and I had that thought. That's amazing. Yeah, CRG, who isn't, yeah, that's where I was going. Who isn't a femboy, basically is religious. And you know what? Femboys is a religion. Femboys is a religion. And if you know how to worship properly, you'll be rewarded in your end. I mean, in the end. Or, yeah, maybe, you know. Me, I believe we can't know, but I do firmly believe that all the ideas we have are wrong. You know, I've seen so many funny videos and memes about which religion has it right. Movies. What was the movie? I can't remember what the movie was, but the guy dies and he goes to heaven. I think it was Simpsons. No, I think it was the Simpsons. And they end up in hell. And they're like, oh, hey, like while we're in hell, because this guy's Catholic, this, you know, who was right? And they're like, oh, it was I don't know, the Protestants. The Protestants were right, or something like that. And the Jewish guy from Simpsons, he's like, I knew it. I was wrong all along. My father hated me, or something like that. A lot of people here are agnostic and think you're hedging your bets in case the God they believe in is real. There was a bit where the British comedian, one of you is going to know who he is. British comedian, really dour. He was in a movie about a world where people couldn't tell lies, but he figured out how to tell lies, and he was the only one that could do it. He was on, and he was talking to Stephen Colbert, and he was talking about how he had told somebody, look, I can't remember. There are 2,000 religions in the world right now. And the only difference between me and you is that I don't believe in any of them, and you don't believe in 1,999 of them. No. There's what 1,000? Yeah, 1,900. Yeah. And he said, so we're only differing on opinion by one deity. And I loved that comment. Okay, so CRJ, let's see, whole notion of organized religion, telling people not to do bad things because they'll go to hell. Well, first of all, as you well know, and I'm going to say this for the chat, hell is a recent creation. Hell, as far as I recall, hell didn't even exist in the time of Jesus. Hell is a relatively recent creation, and in fact, it seems like I'd read something about hell became an idea because of Dante's Inferno or some other piece of literature that was written around that time, and it was kind of adopted. Because to be perfectly honest, Christians, especially Catholics, they tend to adopt a lot of people and a lot of cultures and a lot of beliefs and ceremonies. And I mean, and it's not accusatory, and it's fact. I mean, if you go back and you look at the practices of the churches over the centuries And when the church has moved into areas and certain things have been adopted as part of the ceremony, as part of the lore, I'm not saying they stole anything. I'm saying they adopted it. Have a world where people can't tell lies. That's an indirect, emergent consequence of Gödel's incompleteness theorem. CRJ, fuck you. But yeah, I don't have a clue what that is. I've not heard of that. I'm absolutely convinced at this point that you are either incredibly smarter than me or incredibly more well-read than me, or both, and that's fine. I don't like being not the smartest person in the room. I'm kind of arrogant like that. I'm very rarely the smartest person in the room. I just like to feel that way. Porcelain, no. Sociopath, socio-society, pathology. The pathology of society, I think, is what it was. CRJ can correct me if I'm wrong. But the idea behind, and I don't think sociopath is even a term that's used in mental health anymore. But the idea is that a sociopath is a person who isn't necessarily a bad person, but they internally, they do not believe that a lot of things apply to them. They don't care about rules. They don't care about laws, and they are willing to do anything that they can do up until they will get in trouble, go to jail, be murdered, killed by a jealous boyfriend, whatever the case may be. 8080. Let me look here because I'm kind of curious. When was Dante's Inferno written? Okay, so that definitely predates Dante by about 1,300 years. Right, but that was like you say, that was the New Testament. Well, Imminent, that was the movie title I was looking for. What I was actually looking for was Ricky Gervais, because I couldn't remember the name of the comedian. Godels, and I'm just gonna say Godels because I'm not sure what language that name is in, so I'm not sure what the umlaut represents as far as sound. Incompleteness theorem basically says in any logic system you can construct a sentence which can't be shown to be true or false. I thought this statement is false as a paradox. Maybe that paradox just falls into the theorem too, but okay, so maybe unrelated, but what it reminds me of is that if you put an infinite number of chimpanzees in a room with typewriters, eventually one of them would be able to produce Shakespeare's written works. But I don't think that's quite what you're saying. I don't think it's in a system. Eventually, a lie will be told, and it also kind of depends on whether you're. To me, it kind of seems like it would depend on whether you're talking about an intentional lie or an accidental lie. Like when they do lie detector tests, and you say something that you believe is true, and it just so happens that it's not. You know, like did your friend murder this other person? No. Were they with you at the time the murder occurred? Yes. And as far as you knew, they were, and they did, and you find out they snuck out while you weren't looking. Actually, the Divine Comedy was a little bit later than I thought it was. I thought it was closer to around 800 or 900, but avoidant personality disorder, psychopathy, total. It sounded like a German, Austrian, could be Swedish, Norwegian, Finlandish. You know, I love these discussions, Krister. In context to the conversation, to me, a lie, saying that it was a lie, suggests that there was intent behind it or knowledge that the statement was not true. So yeah, a lie and a non-truth or an untruth. I get it, I do get it, CRJ. But unless you, for some reason, you hate Ricky Gervais or you just hate movies, which I don't think is the case. Okay, I'll be honest. That movie was not amazing. And Ricky Gervais always plays himself, which kind of irritates me sometimes with actors. But the premise of the movie was good. It ended up being really kind of cute. They pulled off a lot of bullshit. You know, everybody likes, not everybody, everybody has some sort of thought in their mind at some time. You know, what would it be like if I could control people with my brain, or what if I could be invisible, or you know, that kind of garbage. What could I get away with? I'm a big sci-fi nut, and there was an episode of Stargate where Teal'c and Jack get stuck in a time loop. They keep replaying the same day over and over again. And Daniel looks at him one go through when they kind of know what's going on. And he's like, so have you guys ever, you know, done anything? He's, what do you mean? He's like, well, if the day always resets, then in theory, you could do almost anything and get away with it because the day resets and everything starts over. And so they're golfing through the Stargate. Jack resigns from Stargate and kisses Carter. A bunch of weird shit. Hey, and I'm caught up with chat. I'm so happy. All right, so I ain't too proud to beg. I'm never too proud to beg. My grandmother told me when I was growing up, and she would give all the grandkids some money. My grandmother told me, if somebody hands you money, if somebody offers to pay for something for you, if somebody offers to buy you dinner, don't argue with them. What you do is you say, thank you very much, very sincerely, and you take it. Because most people do not try to give you money or try to buy you something or try to give you dinner if they don't want to. That being said, not too proud to beg. I'm looking at my screen. I'm going to refresh it just in case. I want to be sure. I don't want to be wrong. I was wrong. So after refreshing my monitoring of my stream, Pastor Van's The Pulpit went from 45 followers while I was watching Maddie streaming earlier tonight to 49 sometime during the first half an hour that I was streaming, to a current number of 57. So I want to thank everyone who followed. I want to thank everyone who has been here and who has stuck around. And for those of you who like degradation, fuck you. What do you think you're doing? Following my channel? Disgusting. Don't unfollow. No, don't click that unfollow button. You don't deserve the unfollow button. You owe me. We've got a problem. And we're going to finish this later. You know we are. Don't click that unfollow button. But for the rest of you, thank you. Thank you so much. Oh, I hit a note with creatures. 57. So that's good. So that means two things, folks. That means two significant things. One, and CRJ can tell me if it's automatic. I think I have to do something on Twitch. But this means I have made affiliate. Final blow. Not final blow. Flawless victory. Something like that. I'm tired. I need to be etch-a-sketching my brain a little bit more. One of these days, we will have custom emotes so you can fucking rock on my channel with my emotes, bitches. And CRJ, I also was a little bit behind on what is it? I can't think what it's called, but the like number of consistent viewers, which has improved recently, but I don't know where that's at now. But I've been on for an hour and a half with at least 20 people. That's going to help significantly. But that being said, I have 57 people to follow me now. That means it's 3 or 4 average concurrent viewers. Thank you. CRJ is my new memory storage. I'm going to fire my partner whose memory is going the same direction as mine. CRJ is now my external memory. No, I wasn't talking about you, dear. She heard me. What? Anyway, in addition to that, my goal originally for 50 followers, actually, I was in my head it was 52 because I figured then I had 1 or 2 people if they decide to leave. But that means, according to my screen over here, I'm going to have another big femgoth stream. We should switch it up, Buff. Though we should occasionally rotate that and say, Jen is a bottom, Amoya is a furry, and Maddie's a streamer, and then we can say, Jen is a streamer, Amoya is a furry, and Maddie's something like that. Anyway, brain. Yes. Raids count for affiliate, not partnered. I did know that already. I think, oddly enough, CRJ probably already told somebody that in a chat once. But CRJ, if we accuse all of them of all 3 at the same time, they're not going to know which one to deny. And then we have to put up with somebody who's going to cry. And then they're going to cry. And then you're going to cry. And then I'm going to cry. That's too much crying. It's unacceptable. Excuse me. So, that being said, if you know what movie that references, just for shits and giggles, I'd like to see if anybody caught that. I think of myself as a fair actor. I'm definitely a character. I think I'm a fair actor, and I just hope somebody would read. So, yes, me, Jenny is a baby fur. Jenny, I am not a furry. So you, no booing in the pulpit. You mean boo-hooing? I don't think anybody has started booing yet. A few people have left, which might be the equivalent, but I don't think anybody's booing. So yeah, to my stories earlier, just to fill a space. Okay, booing is crying. So my previous vehicle was a black PT Cruiser, and I had owned it for a while. And some lady asked me at the gas station what it was, and I told her, and she said it looks like a little hearse. Damn it! And so I bought off eBay some Landau bars off of an old Thunderbird. I used that black gooey adhesive that they use for windshields, put that on the rear quarters. I made curtains for the side windows, the rear windows, had it for ages. I ended up buying a little pull-behind trailer hitch, wiring for the lights, and a casket. I bought the casket from a wholesaler, and when he asked me what it was for, and I told him, he gave it to me at cost because he was actually kind of happy that one of his beautiful caskets wasn't just going to go in the ground to rot. I mean, you got to realize that's what a casket's for, but they can be really pretty. They can be incredibly elaborate, incredibly ornate. And he was just happy to see one not get destroyed. Now, ultimately, we did end up using it for my mother-in-law, simple way to put it. When she passed, money was tight. Her husband was having trouble. Family was having trouble. We took it apart, put all the satin and all the stuff back together, and we gave it to the family for the funeral. And I'm really glad that I was able to do that. Someday I'll do it again. So CRJ, ridiculously, I have 53 followers despite having explained I'm not going to stream. You know, I'll I'll tell you what I think it is, CRJ, and maybe I'm right, and maybe I'm way off here, but after I saw you in streams so much, after I saw you in chats, after I saw you on Discord so much, after I see somebody on for a while, I go, well, they're fun to talk to. I wonder if they stream. Click, 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 click. No, but they got a Twitch channel, so I'll go ahead and follow them in case they ever decide to, grace us with the enormity of their personality live online. Typically, when people are speaking about coffins, they're thinking about what's colloquially known as a toe pincher, where it's narrow at the top, narrow at the bottom. Bottom half is, or bottom section is a little longer, and a casket as the big rectangular boxes, wood, metal, cardboard, what have you. Speaking of which, a group of car guys from Australia that I watch, and quite some time ago, they did a video where they made, dear God, was it a smart car? I think they made a smart car into a funeral car, and they took out the rear window and part of the roof or something so that the toe pincher would stick out the back. And it seems like, and if Archangel's here, Archangel might be able to say, or I can't think of so many names. I can't think of our other upside down friend, but one of our Australian or Kiwi friends. They bury people feet down. They dig more of a shaft than a grave, and they bury them feet down so that it takes up less space. Maybe that's just certain areas. I don't know, but seems legit to me. Boobs, thank you for chatting. I love knowing who's in here. I gotta know who's in here so I know who to harass. I knew they do that in Japan and a lot of places. Not so much in the countryside, is my understanding, but around and in population centers, it's definitely a thing because good land in the cities is um, hard to find. Move them into a lower grade with a new one above. So, CRJ, are you saying that eventually so are you saying that you used to send criminals to Australia and eventually you're going to be sending them bodies on a more direct route? I just have this in my, it's like, okay, dig them up, dig deeper, bury them, and eventually people are going to get pushed down, and eventually they're just going to pop out the other side. So my grandmother was not a vulgar person, but she was an adult and she had a sense of humor and she thought it was funny because after my grandfather passed, he was buried in a national cemetery. And the way the national cemeteries are set up, spouses can be buried with their partners when they pass away, but they don't bury them side by side. So my grandfather was buried first, and the plot was dug a little bit deeper. And then several years later, when my grandmother passed, they dug a little bit less deep hole, put her right on top. And when my grandmother, after my grandfather passed, was talking to me about this and explaining what happened, I didn't think. And I said out loud, well, I hope Grandpa likes being on the bottom. And she looked at me and she said, well, he never had any problem with it before. And so it was both funny and horrifying because, you don't want to think of Grandma and Grandpa in that respect, but they were adults. They had 5 kids, six. Well, actually, I think in total, she had 7 children, 6 or 7. But so yeah, I don't, I think at some point, is what I'm saying, they probably figured out what was going on. Yeah, they have the motorcycle funeral cars, quite a lot of places in the United States. Sometimes they have the side cars, and I've seen two wheels and trikes pulling a trailer that kind of looks like the old funeral coaches with the glass sides and glass ends and the ornate scroll work. Um, I know I've seen trikes pulling them. I don't remember if I've seen bikes because bikes can tow, but it's a little sketchy to begin with, and the bigger and heavier you get, it gets way more sketchy. Um, CRJ, there's a YouTube channel called VinWiki. Actually, no, I'm not going to watch it. We're not going to be here that long. But there's a channel called VinWiki on YouTube, and you need to look up go into VinWiki and search for hearse. And there's a guy that gets on and talks about hearses and owning a hearse and driving a hearse, and talks about getting contacted by a family who lost a family member, and that family member was really into hot rods and cars and muscle cars, and they asked him if he owned that such and such car. He's like, yeah. And they're like, well, we'd like to know if you would take him to the cemetery for us, and if on the way you would do a burnout. And he talks about that whole ordeal and getting to the traffic light and looking at the police officer, and the police officer looks around and goes, and he cooked his tires off. Beautiful story. There have been all kinds of stories about racers, professional racers, who are put in the back of a professional car and are driven down the drag strip or driven around the racetrack. To be fair, I have heard some places in Australia distinctly referred to as hell. Krister, there are services with vintage hearses, mostly on the East Coast and the West Coast in the United States, anyway. Um, there might be some North Central. I know definitely at the coast. But there's also a company in the United States that makes funeral cars based off of a truck chassis that look like an old car, with the really narrow hoods with the flap up panels and the fenders, like not Model T, but not long after that era, 20s, 30s maybe. Um, and I have heard that they are garbage and that up close they look terrible. Um, Buff, there is a place in Michigan called Hell, Michigan, and they used to have a big hearse and professional car show get together every year, and it got bigger and bigger and bigger. And apparently, the residents of Hell, Michigan, didn't like hearses and decided that they caused too much rowdiness and too much traffic and too much issue. I mean, they had fire breathers and sword swallowers and scantily clad Vikings. Uh, so they moved to a nearby area that let them come in. And usually, if you see a suburban or a minivan or some sort of SUV with the funeral markings like the Landau bars and stuff like that, those are usually first call vehicles. And that's what they will do to remove somebody from a home or a hospital, to take them to a hospital or to a mortuary before funeral services and internment. Sword swallowing sounds like something a femboy would do. Well, Buff, I am a minister and an educator, and I'm going to tell you something that you may not realize. I mean, I understand femboys are important, but you have to know there are a lot of people out there that swallow swords, not just femboys. I personally can attest to that as the observer and participant in some sword swallowing. I'm not going to be more specific than that, but not just femboys. No, I'm just saying that's pretty specific because if femboys were the only ones doing the sword swallowing, I promise you, femboys would be a lot more popular, including in Texas and Florida. Maybe, behind closed doors, but they'd be a lot more popular. Back in the 80s, early 90s, a lot of first call cars were also made from station wagons or from less desirable like Buick Centuries and stuff like that. They were still converted for the high top, but they weren't usually cut in half and lengthened, and they were first call cars. And I personally talked to a guy who owns a first call car that went to a car showing for a group called Professional Car Society something. And he and some other guys with some older, not so great quality, kind of hot rodded little hearses showed up to one of their events, and they put them off to the side in the back in the other category because purists are fucks. Car purists are absolute fucktards. They weren't at oh, somebody help me. What's the car shows called where they go in and they judge them on their originality and their thoroughness to detail and making sure that like this screw on this 54 Packard is supposed to be a flathead screwdriver, not a Phillips head screwdriver. If it was restored, they should have used a flathead screw, whatever it's called. What the hell is it called? I can't remember. They're more common in Europe than the United States, but they're basically car shows, usually for old cars or very special cars. Concourse. Thank you. Not concourse. But the guys in the Professional Car Society, they're kind of like concourse level. And if somebody takes a hearse and puts a back seat in it, or takes out the back and puts in stereos, or changes the curtains, or changes the color, or puts mag wheels and BF Goodrich radial TAs or something on it, they don't like it. They treat you like shit. And the Bentley, the Rolls Royce, the Daimler, even more modern day when they use like I'm not a fan of Mercedes, but the Mercedes, when they use a really beautiful car to make a coach, they've just turned up the game. Because to me, the funeral cars, my Cadillac is not a for its era, it was kind of a luxury car, but it's not particularly beautiful. I think it's a good looking car. I think the coaches look even better. But when you take the coaches up another level with the car, it's amazing to see some of those vehicles. Finnar Helsinki. I've heard that, the airport code. I tell you what, Krister, I haven't seen it yet. And I've been keeping my eye out. I searched YouTube every now and then, but I want to get a hold of one of these Amazon vans. I don't know why. I'm obsessed with the Amazon vans. I hadn't seen them till 6 months ago when we moved back to the city area. I love the way they look, and I can't wait till somebody does this. And God, I hope I win the lottery and I can do it. But I would love to see, just like when they take the old mail trucks or the ice cream trucks or those, I can't think what they're called, but the 40s and 50s vans. They're almost semi trucks, but they're a van. I'd like to take one of those Amazon trucks and I'd like to put suspension and big honking engine, loud exhaust, heavy duty rear end. I'd like to go drag an Amazon truck or go race an Amazon truck, make it into a party camper, Yeah, and that's the thing, because they're electric now, and they're if I now I can't remember, but I believe when I looked it up, they are a skateboard design like the Teslas, which means basically they got kind of a unibody chassis thing with the battery tray in it, the wheels, the suspension, and then everything just sits on top. With the idea being, and this has been an idea that's around for a long time, the idea is that a car of that style, you could take your sedan body off and put a van body on it, and then take the van body off and put a truck body on it. And all the connections, all the fittings would be compatible, and you'd just be changing the utility of the vehicle by changing the body, essentially. So yeah, so they're a skateboard design. So it's just a big platform, and then they put a body and a seat and some storage racks in it, and they've got a vehicle. My understanding is they're pretty lightweight. They have pretty good range for an electric vehicle, especially when it hauls stuff. But no, hell, make it a hybrid. Put a big engine in it, an electric motor, and you pull up to a stoplight. Some asshole starts revving his engine, and you start the engine, open the pipes, and roast them. Speaking of electrics, though, today, while I was out parked and waiting on deliveries, I saw a vehicle that I had not encountered before, and I can't remember what it was. So, okay, so I didn't know it, but Kia makes an electric Sportage, and I saw it in my rearview mirror, and it drove by, and they're not a bad-looking car, and it drove by, and as it drove by, let me see if I can do this. As it drove by, it kind of went. And I swear to God, it's all I can think of is it sounds like something out of the Blade Runner movie, because it made a noise. I don't think it was motor noise. It definitely wasn't engine noise, but it had a very distinct sound. Probably one of those things where they make it make a sound so that it's not completely silent. And now I want one just for that sound. That's retarded. Who buys a car just because of the way it sounds? You know what? If I could make that Amazon truck sound like the Kia Sportage, I'm down. I've seen a lot of people take old U-Haul vehicles and do some funky stuff with them. Back in the day, U-Haul, you could rent a cab, kind of a camper over cab truck. It was basically a little bitty, I don't remember, Toyota or Nissan or Mazda truck, one of the little trucks, with a carry barn on the back of it that kind of reminded me of a camper top. I've seen people hot rod those damn things and just roast tires. Yeah, and I can't remember if it was Teslas or Priuses. There was some car that they made that was either an EV or a hybrid, and that was one of the early complaints, was that they'd be driving down the road and people would just walk out in front of them. Jetson, yeah. Jetson sounds would be awesome, but only if it's a flying car, and we're supposed to have flying cars by now, and robots. I don't mean Roombas. Roombas aren't robots. At least the MIT dog. I need at least an MIT dog in my house. I think they were Toyota too. I think they were Toyota. You are a robot. Well, that's a form of play I haven't honestly seen before, but doesn't surprise me. You be you. I had somebody a while back ask me in a chat what I identify as, and I told them I identify as a vampire, and my pronouns are blah and. If you want to explain that further, I'm curious. If you don't, that's perfectly fine. Um, okay, so CRJ, come on, get rid of those little icons here. I want those icons to go away. So CRJ is something in the my if I win the lottery category. Take a Mercedes Vito. I'm not familiar with that chassis. Send it to people who make Autobahn ambulances. Uprate the suspension. Send it to Bravest for an engine. Then take it to an RV manufacturer to make it livable. An RV that could beat a Subaru Impreza WX off the line. To that end, you could probably put a camper shell on a Dodge Demon and do the same thing, and it would beat that RV off the line too. But I'm an American. I like big cars. Nothing wrong with a Super Impreza. I've seen those cars. They're amazing. But in the United States, it's how fast. In Europe, it's how quick around. In Australia, it's how many tires can you go through. That's cars. That's my summary of of car social culture in the three big places. And in Japan, it's how many wings can we put in it, and how big can they be? Because I'm pretty sure that there are people in Japan driving around with vans or cars, and people are calling the police and saying, "There's a 737 driving down my street." No, no, no. It's not big enough for a 777. I'm pretty sure it's a 737 though, or maybe a 717. 707. Do they use 707? I don't know if they use 707. They're still big planes. That's what I'm saying. Big wings on little cars. I mean, and that's a lot. That's a lot of that's a lot of airflow restriction for a car that you can almost go. If you get that reference, you're definitely old. You played with some toys like I did. I've owned a couple of cars that I felt like you could go. You know what? Maddie drives a Subaru, and I absolutely believe that theory with lesbians and Subarus. But I think maybe in the Midwest of the United States, just because of the slight difference in things, I could definitely see there being more Wranglers than Subarus because off road. And some of those Subarus rally, true, but that's not exactly the same thing as off road. And porcelain, that's fine. You don't hack anything off. For what it's worth, I used to tell my grandmother she was a cyborg because she had a pacemaker. So that would be, a technology improved organic being. That's a cyborg, as far as I'm concerned. I mean, not like RoboCop class. You know, I'm pretty sure when she had a hysterectomy, they didn't put a mechanical uterus back in her. Um, but of anything else, I know she did. She hasn't lost. She hadn't hasn't. She has probably now lost some limbs in some fashion or another. But up to that point, she hadn't lost any limbs, so I'm not aware of any. Um, I don't think I will live long enough to have a jack in my head to interface with my computer. I think that's a really cool idea. But I don't think that's going to happen in my lifetime. And if it does, it'll be at best like alpha, and I won't even play games in beta anymore. So no way I'm going to try out a jack in my brain or a guy in a skirt in my brain in alpha. Hope you guys caught that. CRJ, yeah, that's what the Subaru Impreza WRX is R4 is rallying, and they are definitely quick on a straight, but they are made for rallying. But I live in a place where I can go get on my I can get on down to my street, go down to the highway, get on the highway, and I can drive in a straight line for 12 hours, more or less a straight line for 12 hours. And in that case, nobody gives a shit about corners. It's how fast can you get there? The problem for me here is Moore's Law. Electronics get twice as good every 18 months. Unless I have dire need, I am not getting surgery to implant something when a version 10 times better will arrive in 5 years' time. The problem with that, CRJ, is the vicious loop that you can get into where you go, if I wait a little bit longer, a better version will come out, and you end up never getting a version and you die because your brain implant never got put in or whatever got put in. I may be tying CRJ to Robbie here, but yeah, implants, they always get better. They always get lighter or stronger or whatever the case may be. Personally, if I ever lost my feet or my legs, I'd want some of those blade things that let you run and jump really fast and really high. That just, no, that'd probably kill me. No, I'd still get them. It'd be fun while it lasted. Lucane, welcome back in. Thank you for coming in. I'll die without it counts as dire need. Well, but I could be wrong, but I generally get the impression that when a medical professional or two or three tell you that something is wrong and you need to have something implanted, it's maybe, it's could be possibly for a good reason, maybe. No, no, no. Without going into detail, Porcelain, I do not have to have anybody worrying about me murdering my SO. Because frankly, as far as that goes, I drive her more crazy than she drives me. And she's more likely to break me than murder me because she can pick me up and throw me across the room. Now, I'm not saying that to suggest that I am weak or incapable, just that she is strong and very capable. And eventually you learn to pick your battles. I take that back. She probably can't throw me across the room, but she could definitely pick me up and very likely hurt me if she so desired. I don't worry about that too much because usually when I piss her off, she just ignores me. She goes away and ignores me. Okay, so I apologize. You've made a reference I don't get. I don't know who Oscar Pistorius is. I'll look it up. I have no qualms with Googling. Oscar Pistorius. Oh, fuck. Okay, without going in and reading too far into these articles, it sounds like he had blade prosthetics and killed his girlfriend. Okay, yeah. That's wow. How did I miss that? When was that at? Recently. Wow. I hate our news. I don't hear about stuff like that. I don't. We've stopped hearing what's going on in. It's been so long since I've heard the name. I can't think of the name. The country that Russia is invading. Yes, it was determined to be manslaughter rather than murder. Ukraine, thank you. We don't. We in the United States is. I mean, unless somebody in the United States is getting completely different news than me, I haven't seen an update on the war in Ukraine on mainstream news for hell, I don't know. I don't know how long it's been since I've heard anything on mainstream news about it. I have to look up articles to find out what's going on, or like watch comedic news like Stephen Colbert, who occasionally talks about what's going on. And how do you not update people on what's going on in the Ukraine? They're a tiny country with nothing that's being run by a comedian. And if you're a soldier in a country that's fighting for everything that they have, what could be better than having a president who could walk into his soldiers and put them in a better mood by telling a joke? Not only telling a joke, but it makes sense. The last president the United States had that I knew of that told a joke while in office, like legit told a joke, was probably Reagan. Now, Clinton had a sense of humor. Apparently, his wife did too. Carter, Obama. Barack Obama definitely had a sense of humor. But he tried to be professional. Yeah, he did, but his jokes were sly. He was a master of saying something like he was providing you with an important piece of information, was just flat out telling a joke. And since he's been out of office, yeah, Bush wasn't good with the jokes, but since Obama's been out of office, the jokes have gotten nothing but better. When he does an interview and they have him talk about certain people in the world, holy crap, that guy. All right, I gotta take care of something here real quick. It's just my cigarettes, I swear. One of the downsides to my streaming, particularly with so many of my Discord and Twitch friends, no, HW, he told us, he said some off things. I'm just gonna say off things a few times too. And if you're prone to telling jokes at the wrong time or in the wrong situations for whatever reason, generally you should probably stay away from jokes. Is my thought. No, not subliminal. No. It was obvious to anybody who speaks and understands English, which is not everybody who speaks English. We have a lot of politicians out there that they speak English, but they don't know what it means. That's a fact. I mean, asking a man who works for a company that makes internet applications, does your product access the Wi-Fi in your customers' homes? Is like asking a person in a restaurant, if I order your pumpkin pie and I eat it, will it go through my digestive system and come out a turd? And then this poor fucker that they're trying to convince people that he's a spy for the Chinese Communist Party, and he's just sitting there in front of Congress going, dude, I'm from Singapore. No. I'm from Singapore. Yes, I'm from Singapore. No, I'm not from China. And that fucker thought he was being smart by trying to ask the same question 20 different ways. And I used to watch when the news in the United States started getting really well. After I started watching the news, when the news got to the point where I felt like it was as much opinion as fact, we had cable, and I got to start watching BBC. And I liked the BBC News because it wasn't, this is what happened, this is what we think caused it, and this is our opinion on the matter. It was today in Azerbaijan, 47 people were killed by a missile strike launched from the enemy's side. Reports indicate that the attack was intentional and did hit the hospital on purpose. The next news. To be honest, BBC's gotten a little opinionated too, but still better than damn near anything in the United States. You know what? You're setting me up for politics. Fuck all y'all. I don't want to go there. And it's probably my fault. I'm blaming you. But I'm moving on. Stay away from politics. Because A, nobody agrees, and B, they piss me off. Suffice it to say that I think God, I'm terrible thing. Terry Pratchett. Terry Pratchett had in one of his books where they were asking about lawyers. And he said, "Oh, the lawyers?" Or something about the law. God, was it lawyers or politicians? I'm pretty sure it was the lawyers. No, it was politicians. Politicians. The judge will be in jail. You'll have your court with him. Why is the judge in jail? Oh, we finally got to the point where as soon as politicians are elected, we just put them in jail. And that's the shame, CRJ, because politicians everywhere, they have to promise things to get elected, and a lot of the time, most of the things that they're trying to promise are things that they can't do. Presidents of the United States or people running for president of the United States will promise so many things that they can't do, that is the job of Congress, and Congress, even if they agreed on, couldn't do. Thank you, CRJ. I knew which book it was, and I knew it was the Australian parody, but I couldn't suddenly remember if it was politicians or lawyers. Politicians does make more sense. I haven't had a lot of time to read recently, and I've been meaning to reread some of my Terry Pratchett. My first Terry Pratchett book was a book that was given to me by a friend. It was The Reaper Man, and I absolutely loved Reaper Man. I love the death character. I love the personification. I love the idea that death can become more than the Reaper. Amethyst, yeah, you turn on the news, it's good news, death and destruction. You go out and touch the grass, the birds are chirping, and the stranger says hi. Except for these days, it's not unusual for people to go outside to touch the grass, listen to the birds. Somebody says hi, and the first thing that person is thinking is, oh God, is this person getting ready to murder me? But, and then on top of that, political knowledge for me is distinctly lacking because, like many people, I didn't really get into politics until I got older, until I started realizing that people that I knew that were gay or trans or black or Hispanic or anything other than white male women, anything other than a white male, really did struggle with a lot of things in their lives. And there was, at the time that I noticed this, there was a lot less help. The allies weren't as visible. And then I'd say, particularly within the past 10 years, with the advancements of social media, which have been good and bad, the ability for somebody to show a person or a group of people's plight is so much easier, and it is so much easier now to find people to help you speak out, people to be an ally, people to help. Um, uh, Discussion conversation with my mother, and she said, well, why are you worried about the rights of LGBTQ people? And I just told her, I said, because you told me, you taught me that people are all people and they all deserve respect. They all have the right to live their lives no matter what, unless they're hurting somebody, and in a not fun way, I would addendum. Hurting somebody in a not fun, not consensual way. Um, people are within the right to basically do anything they want to. And it surprises me that she is not quite of the same opinion these days. It's really disappointing. when when some of our streamer friends talk about speaking to their families about their particular situation and their concerns, the reason that I, as a cis white male, can relate is because I know, not knew, I know if I had to go to my mother or needed to go to my mother and tell her that I were queer, that I were trans, that I were anything, she would not be so accepting. So some people go, well, then why is it even a concern? And it's because that is not the attitude of the woman that raised me. That's the attitude of the woman who raised me, and then she changed significantly, and not in a way that I like. As it is, I came out to her that I was non-conforming a while back, a year or two ago. She knows that sometimes I wear a blouse, sometimes I wear a skirt, sometimes I wear both, and she saw my videos. She knows I wear makeup of various sorts, sometimes goth, sometimes male, sometimes femme, and she doesn't care for it. And she started to do her, well, but I told her, look, I'm almost 150 and I've been an adult for a while, at least physically. Um, and this is what I like. And you're welcome to your opinion, but you can't talk me out of it. You can't give me arguments against it. I'm not doing anyone any harm. Generally, nobody even gives me any shit about it. So unless or until it causes me personally an issue, that's it. Like I said, if I had to come out to her as anything other than straight cis white male, I'd be disappointing my mother. For yeah, CRJ, yeah. And at one point, I could have told you what that little bit of speech was, where it came from, and I'm not even sure, but I think it was something that was said regarding World War II. Maybe it was World War One. But CRJ, you are my external memory unit now, so you just remember who it was for me. No, you know what? When it comes to history, if somebody wants to have a discussion about slavery in the world, the history of slavery, anti-Semitism in World War One or World War Two, you learn from history. But politics in modern times, except for a few modern morons, most people in the world are not going to tell you that the German leaders, I'm trying to be a little more specific, the German leaders in World War II were bad people. Most people are just not going to argue that with you. Well, Buff, it's not like I made him a moderator, you know, and he's already going to tell us this shit anyway. So it's appreciated. Now, when he corrects you on something, it's a little obnoxious, but still appreciated. I'm gonna be I'm gonna be the I'm gonna be the
I am the moderator.
and until tonight, I haven't ever had more than 20 people on my stream. I haven't needed a moderator. But there's a couple people. No, no, Buff. I can't make him a moderator because he'll end up having to ban me from my own channel. I'm gonna say something or do something. He's gonna be like, "Nope, you said no. Click ban." And what happened? German Lutheran pastor. I'm gonna be honest. I thought that was attributed to like a German Jewish writer or poet or something like that. I didn't realize it was a pastor. See, pastors can be decent people, persons, individuals. English is hard. CRJ, if I would set it up so that a moderator could ban me if I went too far, it would probably be you. I say probably because I suspect at some point you might do it just to do it. So, probably not for sure. I have not heard of Nadia Bolsweber. I do not have URLs censored. I have not, as of so far, had to. So, to those of you, well, if I know you would, that's why you're not even on the list. You're not on the list. Nothing personal, but I know you would do it. Because we have a lot of the core people here, which is pretty cool. And if you're not core people, which is also really cool, while you're still here, and before I get tired and forget and don't think to ask, I am curious on my follower goal was for the next FemGoth stream. Now, originally when I set that up, I said that what that was for, because I was streaming the Alice games at the time, was if I hit follower goal, I would get an Alice costume and a wig, and I would stream Alice dressed as Alice, which I'm still all for. I love the Alice games. Don't particularly care to cosplay Alice, but I love the character. I love the outfit. But I haven't been streaming those games anymore. I kind of fell out of interest with that idea of streaming the series, especially since I was thinking about the Thief series and the early series just look like crap. They're buggy as hell. They're not that much fun. You know, nostalgic, but not so playable. Or just a very elaborate femgoth stream, which is what I'm kind of leaning towards. And I've kind of done it, but I'm thinking I need to go like full on, maybe mohawk, spiked collar, kind of a lacy Wednesday dress. I don't know. I'm kind of trying to think. But since you guys, you persons, you peoples, are all here, and I know a lot of you, I'm open to suggestions. And if it's the Alice, I'll have to plan ahead. I don't know if I can get that costume right now. At the time that I made that, I could. Right now, things are a little up in the air. I'm not hurting. I'm not broke. I'm not poor. We're fine. It's just we're at a point where we're not doing a whole lot of extraneous stuff so that we don't hurt our reserves, so to speak. So the Alice thing is kind of maybe not, but or maybe I should just go full goth guy. I don't know if any of you were here when I did the suit jacket with the fishnet shirt and the electrical tape on my nipples, which was both funny and kind of what would you say, like flipping off Twitch for their nipple rules, which are stupid and biased. I have told people in the past I wouldn't stream shirtless. I don't have a horrible physique, but is more dad bod than attractive. And then shortly after the last time I said that to somebody, I saw a guy streaming from a sofa with an Xbox controller. He was painted green. He had a Kermit the Frog eyeball headband on his head. His lips were painted red. It almost looked like it I want to say blackface, but it looked like frog face. It was terrible. And he had hundreds of people watching him. I don't know who the fuck he was. But if that tubby fucker can sit on a stream naked and paint himself green and people will watch him, there's really, I need boobs. To be a successful Twitch streamer, you've got to have boobs or the illusion of boobs, one of the two. But if that guy can get hundreds of viewers, fucking hell, I can too. He's not the guy that does the Kermit puppets, is he? Because that would kind of make sense if he painted himself up to look like Kermit. Okay, Krister, does he give good advice? I mean, he doesn't just. I try not to judge people on appearance, but when I looked at this guy, the first thing that I thought of was not, I bet this guy could give me good advice. Green Zent. What the hell is that? This has been a night of education for me. You are all throwing some shit at me that I have never heard of before, and I love that. Let's see here. Green Zentai suit. Oh, it's just a green body stocking. It's almost like the green screen suits that they use when they have helpers on green screen scenes in movies. Guy advice, guy Twitch, first result. Toad PhD. Hey, you know what? If he does good and he doesn't ruin anybody's life and he's got people watching, good for him. I'll be honest with you. I've heard them called something else, and I can't remember what the name is, but it kind of ties into the kink community when they do like the full sensory suit, but not in plastic. Is he? We're gonna go look here. Hang on. Let me. I think as long as they're not doing like sexually suggestive or something like that, you can show a stream in your stream. Let me pull this up and we'll Toad PhD, huh? Oh my God, that's him. Okay, and look, no judgment on him. Understand, okay? If I challenge somebody on Twitch, it's gonna be, you're gonna know it. Okay, but stream might be okay with its categorizers in its category, but you're in potentially the same thing on yours. My stream is marked sexually suggestive and coarse and foul language. So that should cover, I would think. Yeah. So And I smoke, but I'm not chain smoking, and I'm not making it part of my stream, and I'm not suggesting anybody else smoke, and I'm not talking about smoking and all that stuff. So I'm gonna, yeah, I'll risk it. Who the hell's gonna tell on me?
If you have to shit, sit down.
Oh, and then we go to a commercial. Fuck. Okay, so what I was gonna say is, no disrespect to him. He's a big guy. He knows this as well as anybody who looks at him. He has movies. Okay? And his movies are bigger than the tatas on a lot of girls that stream on Twitch. And if he can hang out with his tatas and his nanas poking out, why can't the women? And that's why it pisses me off. And with that whole ordeal they did with the art, and it's like blah blah blah, we were gonna do this and do that and do that, and then they're like, oh, but people got crude with the art. It's you know what? It's Twitch's channel, and all they have to do is go into a streamer and say, no, that's not okay. Don't do that. Fuck our rules. That's not appropriate. We don't want you to do that. And as long as they apply their shit more or less evenly to people, it's a happy place. And I'm still, and not because I stream, but just because of the concept, I'm still pissed off that they cannot give anything but vague descriptions of, what is it, visible or prominent genital bulge. Oh God, I've got to look that up now. CRJ can probably quote it word for word. He's probably had to look it up and say it so many goddamn times. Twitch nudity policy. Absolutely. Yes, Buff, I'm looking up bulges. And voice to text failed. It said which nudity policy. Dun, 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 dun. For those who present as women, we ask that you cover your nipples and do not expose underbust. I do not present as a woman. I present as a man dressed as a woman. Does that mean I have to cover my nipples? And where's the bulgy? Bulgy woolgy. Come on, baby. Always so hard to find. Not hard, just hard to find. Guidelines. Safety. Violence. Hateful harassment. Sexual harassment. Illegal. Sensitive. Oh, adult nudity. You may not show or promote. We do not permit the visible outline of genitals, even when covered. If a woman with a figure wears tights or yoga pants that are tight, lays on a bed, facing away from the camera, with her hips propped up on a pillow, I would consider that the visible outline of genitals. Because I swear to God, I've seen a couple streamers, and I could have told you whether they were a virgin or not. Well, it applies to the bulgy woolgy. A bulgy woolgy could or could not be possibly a visible outline. So literally, if I tuck into a tight pair of pants and draw the outline of a penis on the front of my pants, that's a visible outline. Okay, CRJ, if it's against TOS, if you can see the labia, then the top 10 female streamers should be banned. Top 5 at least. Camel toe, yes. I both love and despise that word. Okay, so that's art, provided you've got the sexual themes classifier. Then the test is whether the drawn phallus is realistic or not. And realistic is subjective too. Because if I tuck myself, wear those pants, and draw an outline of a penis on the front of my pants and make the penis 16 inches long, that's not realistic for me. You catch my drift. If you know what I mean. If you smell what the pastor van is cooking, that's not realistic for me. But if it's obviously a phallus and balls, and it could represent somebody who has a 16-inch dong, then it could be realistic. So part of the problem to me, Twitch started out as a game streaming platform. Then it became chat. And then it became tits and ass. So if you ever hear me talk about a TNA stream, that's what I'm talking about. It's usually someone who is streaming in a way, dressed in a way, so as to promote the unintentional sexualization of said person, and generally also to promote other social media sites where they sell other content much spicier than Twitch generally allows. That's to me. Basically, I'm saying if somebody's using as a Twitch as a jumping board to get people into their battle pass, just not also to send people to battle, but if it's basically they stream because it gets people to their battle pass, no, because to me that's like self-promoting in somebody else's stream. You know, if they're okay with it, it's fine. Still feel like a dick about that earlier. I totally meant to whisper Amoya, but if they're okay with it, self-promotion's fine. If Twitch is okay with people directing people to spicier content, that's fine. But Twitch doesn't allow that. And ultimately, CRJ, I think the point of what they're trying to do is to allow people to be expressive without being overly adult. But they can't do that because in a lot of countries, you might be able to get away with saying boys and girls can both show their nipples. But in some of the countries that their service is used in, that is absolutely a no-no. So it goes from just not just a general societal thing to an international cultural thing. I get TikToks that pop up on my phone of naked women from South Africa that get past the TOS on TikTok just because the upper body nudity is part of their cultural and societal norms. But the lady down the street can't make money on TikTok wiggling her boobies around naked because in her community, it's not normal for women to walk around jiggling their boobies. Yeah, the link tree is what a lot of people use. But I know you know CRJ, Buff. I know a lot of you know absolutely what I'm talking about. I'm not saying it happens tons or a lot or that it's every streamer. Definitely not every female streamer, because there are a lot of good female streamers out there that are, and by female, I'm including trans women, femboys, anybody who is feminine in ish, however it works, who dress sexy. And the point is not to direct traffic to places where they make more money. If they have those sites, that goes along with it. They're not just on Twitch to promote their other bullshit. Feminine in nature. I've known some feminine in nature. What was I? Krister, it's not that hard for countries to block sites or for sites to block countries. But if 99.9% of your content is not of that nature, and you prevent that country from getting your content, you're losing money. And so it's easier to include that country. And then, but then it gets back to the, just like with the last rules change that they rolled back on. It's like if Twitch opens up the rules to allow for more, we'll say, expressiveness, there's going to be a bunch of assholes out there that are going to abuse the rules just because they can, because that's the way people are. And there's still going to be people who get around it with VPNs and that sort of thing because they already do that with games. There are multiplayer games online that have had incredible problems with cheat menus and cheating in online games, particularly from, not entirely from, but particularly from China, Korea, Thailand, Taiwan, a couple of countries in South America, and Russia. And as soon as they ban somebody, they get a new copy of the game, they get on a VPN, they rejoin and do the same thing over again. Or if their country is just blocked, then they get a VPN and go around it that way, whether they're cheating or doing something else. So Kick is a hellhole because it only has people who can't stream on Twitch. Oh, oddly enough, a few months back, I signed up on Kick for the account. I was looking at it, I was thinking about it, but it looked terrible. Well, yeah, people who can't stream. Yeah, it looked like it consisted of people who were either just so bad or so wrong or so inappropriate that they probably couldn't stream anywhere else. No, I get that. And you may agree with me. There are probably people on Kick that are really good at streaming, but for some reason or another can't be on Twitch, which is unfortunate. Only people streaming on Twitch are right wing extremists, people promoting gambling websites, and people too indecent. Oh, you mean the only people streaming on Kick? Oh, sorry. Thank you. Probably because my voice volume, but I also had my gain altered earlier for my gain earlier altered because I was trying to finish Maddie's stream while I had my stuff idling in the background ready to go. No. Yeah, you're due for breakfast. I've been waiting for you to leave any time now to go eat. I'm after midnight here. It's been about 4 hours since I've eaten, so I could probably use a snack here before too long. Don't think. All I got is junk food. I got some tortilla chips, but I don't have the salsa up here. Speaking of which, CRJ, as I recall, you're an English fellow, correct? Just want to make sure because you're my memory now, so I have to rely on you to inform me. Okay, so I was arguing with my father-in-law today because he talks about he talks about breakfast, dinner, and supper. And dinner and supper are the same thing to me, the evening meal. And so I asked him if he's had lunch, and he says I'm due for supper or I'm due for dinner. I don't know. He gets lost. So the English, is there a differentiation there? Is that maybe something that's carried over and gotten thrown around and tossed around and fucked up? And B, I told him that if he kept fucking with me on this dinner supper thing, that I was going to start using English meals and fuck with him. And he said, "What do you mean?" I said, "Well, like brunch." He goes, "Oh, brunch. Is that like between dinner and supper?" I said, no. I said, "It's breakfast, brunch, lunch, tea, and dinner." And so I'm going to start asking you, because he can't keep on a schedule, have you had brunch yet? So he has to figure out what brunch is. Or is it tea time? So he has to figure out what the hell tea time is. So your middle of the day meal is lunch. So he is mixing up what we would call dinner and a late meal, which may or may not be common. Everybody's different. It's gotten really popular with a lot of people I know, rather than having 3 meals, like having 4 or 5 very small meals, almost snacks. So CRJ, not quite like the traditional Hobbit schedule for meals. I wish I forget exactly what they are, but I remember the bit where they're sitting there talking about, well, what about this and what about that one? And he's like, I don't think he knows about any of those. You better eat right now. Like Nunchin and 11 Z's and 1 Z's. Brunch, combined breakfast and lunch. Yeah, that's it's not really a meal in the United States, but a lot of people, if they have like a mid-morning meal, especially with friends, they go out, especially, they call it brunch. 11 Z's and tea. Well, obviously. Yes, I'm checking my numbers. I'm just curious. Oh, and my volume turned back on. Well, that's obnoxious. Who'd want to listen to that fucker? Now I say that, who'd want to listen to that fucker? I'm joking. One of the things that you will hopefully not see a lot from me is self-deprecation, because I don't care what the context, unless it's obviously humor. I hate when people downplay and degrade themselves. And probably the reason that I hate that is I've known not a lot, but far too many people who do that as part of their personality to get head pats, to get attention. And I just hate that. And unfortunately, working in SPED, that was not uncommon. kids would kind of be self-deprecating, degrading to themselves because somebody has told them negative things about themselves, and they kind of get to the point where they kind of believe it. I'm gonna be honest with you guys, okay? I want you to understand. I don't particularly like kids. I don't dislike kids, but there's a reason I don't have kids. I've told people in the past I loved my grandfather. He was a terrible and wonderful person at the same time. I would love to be a grandfather. To which most people tell me that, yeah, well, if you want to be a grandfather, you're missing a step in there. But it is what it is. The only other things that I've written down here recently that I was going to talk about in stream if I thought about it. Oh, there is one other thing. I'm going to get going here pretty soon, but I'll check chat, and then I got to tell you, I had a VOD from Twitch banned on YouTube. And it's kind of funny, though, and I'll tell you what that was. Yeah, and I've heard of the smaller, spaced-out meals for weight loss. You know, an uncle, she's got her niece, and I kind of feel like an uncle, but I met her when she was like, I don't know, 10 or 12-ish. She grew up really fast. She's 30 now, fucking 30. And I call her my niece for simplicity in conversation, but it doesn't sound right in my head. I don't think she thinks of me as an uncle. I'm just her aunt's boyfriend. Yes, Buff. Have a good night. See, and that's the problem my father-in-law has, Porcelain, is he tries to do like 6 or 7 snacks a day in addition to 3 meals, and his 6 or 7 snacks end up being small meals in themselves. So yeah, so what happened was for the getting ready to start screen for my stream, I've been getting on YouTube and looking up collections of music, different types of music occasionally for background that claim copyright free. And it's been really good so far. But the last VOD that I put up on YouTube, partway through the 10 or 15 minutes of getting ready to start or starting soon, the audio cuts out. And I got a notification that I'd gotten not a ban, but a block. And it took me a while to find the right thing to click. But what I'm guessing is one of the copyright-free pieces of remixed music that I was playing is owned by somebody who doesn't support Russia or possibly is in Russia. And that portion of audio from my getting ready to start screen was muted in the country of Russia. And that was it. So I've had a DMC once before. I did not get a whatever you call it, the strike. I didn't get a strike, one of the 3 strikes or whatever. But I had a video taken down because of audio. Oh, it was one of my painting videos. And I had a Bluetooth speaker playing music in the background, just barely audible. And when I listened to that video, I had to turn everything on my computer up as far as I could to even hear that there was music playing. And I couldn't, and I was the one listening to the music in the video, and I couldn't tell you what music I was listening to in the video. But for whatever reason, YouTube picked it up, got a strike, my audio was gone, and I think I just took it down. I can't remember now. So yeah, so I haven't had any major takedowns on any of the medias, but I thought it was interesting that that video had one song blocked of half a dozen, maybe a few more, just in Russia. Might be. So I think I'm going to start wrapping it up, unless any of you have any thoughts or questions before we go. And I'm going to be completely honest with all of you. I want to both say thank you and fuck you to all of you, because now that I've got enough people for affiliate, and now that I've had, I think, 50 people in my stream at one time, it makes me feel like the streaming might be a little more promising down the road, which means I will continue to have something else that I need to do, which honestly I enjoy. Creatures, you and me both. Okay? Every version of Windows pisses me off more. I am truly showing my age because every time I get a new version of Windows, I sit there for weeks going, why did they have to change it? Why did they have to do this? Why did they have to do that? It worked perfectly good the way it did. Thank you, Robbie. I appreciate that. But I do appreciate everybody who came in. I appreciate everyone who came in from... Probably that came out of left field for me, Porcelain. I'm not going to lie. Having a couple of dozen people on the stream to tell stories to conversate with, to make jokes, and to say fuck off is really nice. So everybody continue to support small streamers, find people you like, pass them on. I'm not likely to ever be huge on Twitch, and I'm fine with that. And there are a lot of people that get on Twitch that will never be huge. But I know, because I've watched them, there are some great people on there with great personalities, great shticks, great whatever, great gamers that can be big, and they just need people to find them. So look around every now and then, stop in people's streams, say hi. Don't have to follow everyone, but if you find somebody you like, follow them, keep up with them for a little bit. Keep supporting Maddie. I appreciate her bringing everybody over. I even appreciated the confusion. It was really nice. And I'm starting to sound like that President Obama. So I'm obviously getting tired. I need to wrap up anyway. I'm going to go out and drive tomorrow. Yeah. And if you missed the story about the hearse at the beginning of the stream, as soon as I get done, I'm going to put the VOD up. Just fast forward to that part. It's the best story I told all night. Hand to nothing. I swear. Thanks for flying with Delta. We are currently flying over the Grand Canyon. If everybody in the aircraft wants to look out the left side of the airplane through the windows, the airplane will tip over. So please don't everyone look out at the same time. Thanks, everyone. Pastor Van out. Remember, don't be a bully. Don't be an asshole. Unless you have to be an asshole, but definitely don't be a bully. You're all awesome. Good night.